Doug Collins of the great state of Georgia now. First of all, welcome to the program. Haven't seen you in a minute. It's great to have you on. Congressman, as you know, COVID-19 has been battering your home state of Georgia, and the state now is in the nation's top 10 for cases and deaths, unfortunately, with more than 9,000 fatalities, nearly 400,000 cases. The case number rising to 15%, or by 15% from just a month ago. You know, it's tough to balance all those things. When you watch Garrett Tenney's reporting from across the country, people have lost so much while we lock down and while we do these things. So as a leader, not elected or otherwise, but someone who's looked upon to have the answers, how do you approach it, and what do you say to the American people?
Well, what I say is there needs to be a balanced approach. We need to take the precautions seriously. We wear a mask, wash our hands, do the things that we need to do. But I also have sympathy for the other part of this is our economic activity going into the winter months, going into activities like restaurants and other things. That business owner, the bowling alley business owner, just again sort of stated it. He said we've done all we can possibly do to make sure that we follow the safety precautions, but yet at the end of the day, it's the government who is forcing us out of business. You know, and the questions that I have on some of these other shutdowns, you know, and restrictions, that there are no inside gatherings, there's 5 people gathering. I mean, dealing with just a family who may have more than 5 people in the house. These are the kind of things that we need to balance the safety of our country, but also with the reality of this virus, and also with the hope of the vaccines that are just on the horizon now.
Well, I tell you, this conversation has gotten very spicy. A county official in Oregon is calling out Governor Kate Brown's new restrictions ahead of the holiday. Watch, Congressman.
Okay.
This is a travesty that's happening in our state. How dare Governor Brown think she's going to come out, send the police into people's homes, and arrest them and fine them for having a Thanksgiving meal with their family, while at the same time she allows rioters and anarchists to destroy downtown city of Portland. That's hypocrisy.
Your reaction?
And we've seen this hypocrisy since the election. It's amazing that the discussions about, you know, confining families, taking Thanksgiving breaks and not letting them be able to travel or meet with their families, but yet you hear none of this when it comes to the celebrations that were erupting from Democrats thinking they won the election, or from the riots or anything else. Again, we've got to have a consistent plan here. And my concern is this. In states that have been locking down, they have been shutting down, Michigan, New York, and others, the cases are back rising again. States like Georgia, we do have rising cases, but we're taking those cases while our economy and our businesses are open and people are doing what they need to do. You cannot have a single-purpose approach here. But this is what Joe Biden promised. This is exactly what he promised in his election, that he would try and he would start encourage shutdowns, and his supporters are doing that right now. It's going to lead to some very tough times, and actually I believe it takes away from the seriousness of the virus. When you do these kind of restrictions, knowingly you can't enforce them, but you've got to encourage people to take precautions. But doing things like this, I think, actually turn people the other way.
Well, you know, Congressman, I'll move on to this now. You're leading the Trump campaign's recount effort in your home state of Georgia. And we want to get your reaction now to the new trove of uncounted ballots there. Here's a Georgia election official on the president gaining some votes after discovering all of those thousands of uncounted ballots.
We're going to continue to follow the law and continue to follow our processes. And the irony of his saying fraudulent votes have been found, he has gained in the finding of those votes. So the system is working the way it's intended. And the frustrating situation overall, essentially in the United States right now, if this was 14,000 votes the other way, I believe Biden supporters would be screaming that this was all inappropriate and not done correctly.
First of all, your reaction.
My reaction is that this Secretary of State's office has been telling everybody in Georgia, oh, everything was done proper, those processes were done right, everything was right, and they've been pushing back and, you know, name calling and other things about people who didn't believe that this was right. But if we had not asked for that, if the campaign had not asked for this recount, you wouldn't have found those votes. You wouldn't have found the issues that we found in affidavits from election officials saying the Secretary of State's office did not give clear guidance. You wouldn't have found issues that we're finding right now of how the signature matches and other things that need to be looked at. My concern is this, is quit trying to cover up the fact that it was not a perfect election in Georgia, that we have found votes. And these votes would have never been found without the request for the recount. So to say that the processes were working, that everything's been fine, there's been no problems, we just simply know that's not true. And it's a shame that instead of trying to work to find a real solution so that people can be assured that the elections are good going forward, we're just still trying to basically cover from the problems that we've existed and the problems that have existed since this election.
Real quickly, and forgive my ignorance on this point, but I know it's an innocent question, basic, but are some of these same people going to be in charge when you have your runoffs in Georgia?
Some of these same charge now?
Yeah, of the elections?
Oh, yeah, it's the same people. I mean, so this is why it is so important that, we may be finishing the recount here, but the next phase, which the other part of the campaign will take over that we're dealing with, is they're going to have to deal with these issues because come January 5th, it's the same people, same stuff, in the same consent order that we've been having to work under. They are going to have to get better at this because people would lose hope. And I'm telling the people of Georgia, especially conservatives, you cannot lose hope. You've got to get back out and vote, and especially in this Senate race because Senator Perdue and Loeffler need them.
Well, and I would say that for all Americans all over the country, right? Which is why you go through these exercises. And we usually just don't know about them, I think, up this close because it's close and so many people voted. All right, I'll move on. We mentioned the runoff, so let's stay there. So more than $120 million spent so far by the candidates, political parties, and outside groups. That's a lot of money pouring into politics in Georgia. Meanwhile, campaign data show roughly 8 in 10 donations for the Democratic candidates are coming from out of state. Why is that significant?
Because they want to make sure that Chuck Schumer becomes majority leader in the Senate. They have an agenda that keeps the Nancy Pelosi a speaker. They want majority leader, and they don't want to see this election. They want to see this election continue to stay where they like it, thinking Biden won. The problem here is this: is we've got to protect the Senate. They want to make sure that the Senate stops because the Senate is the last bastion of the investigations that we still need to know that go on. They're the last bastion of making sure that the policies coming out of the House can be stopped. This is the reason why you're seeing so much money pour into Georgia. And frankly, there have also been some of those activists who've been telling people to move to Georgia that they can register to vote. I just have a quick word for them. If they want to move to Georgia and register to vote, they better start learning to stay in Georgia and like the Peach State, because if they don't, that's a felony. And encouraging people to commit felonies is not looked upon very carefully down here in Georgia either.
Wow. All right. Well, I will let you go. Bring you back another time. I have so many more questions. Good to see you. Congressman Collins of Georgia, thank you very much.
Harris, always good to be with you. Take care.